Well, polls have closed and counting has begun. I'm Ali Janayannash with rolling coverage of these groundbreaking elections in Turkey. We're live from our election headquarters here in Istanbul. 59 million Turks were eligible to vote for both their president and parliament. It's an historic vote because this election will complete Turkey's transition into a new presidential system of governance. A lot is at stake. So let's start off by taking a closer look at who the 6 presidential candidates are. First, this man, Recep Tayyip Erdogan. He's the incumbent president and the only joint candidate of an alliance in these elections. He's popular, he's charismatic, and he's the first president ever elected by popular vote, and he's looking for a second term in office. It could be close, but President Erdogan has never lost an election during his political career. The other 5 candidates on the board are running for their own political parties. This man, Muharrem İnce, is the candidate for the main opposition, the CHP, and the only one who's not the leader of a political party. But he's been a member of parliament for the past 16 years. He's famous for his heated speeches and could be the biggest challenger to President Erdogan. Then we have the only female amongst the group, Meral Akşener. She's running as the candidate for the newly formed E Party. She left her former party, the MHP, after they decided to align themselves with President Erdogan's AK Party. Her party may be new, but she does come to the table with some political experience, having served as the country's first female interior minister back in the 1990s. Then we have Selahattin Demirtas. He's the candidate for the predominantly Kurdish HDP. He's currently in prison after being arrested in 2016 for his alleged links with the PKK terror group. Now, he ran against President Erdogan in the previous elections in 2014 and placed 3rd with 9% of the vote. Now, the remaining 2 candidates are political veterans. Temel Karamollaoğlu is the candidate for the Saadet Party, now a party that was home to most of the founders of the ruling AK Party. Interesting, Karamollaoğlu threw in his hat after the opposition parties failed to decide on a joint candidate. And finally, Doğu Perinçek. He's the founder of a former communist party. Then he became a nationalist. Now they've rebranded themselves and are running under the Vatan Party. Now soon we'll see how these 6 candidates are doing when the numbers start coming in. And for that, we have our Maria Ramos. Maria?
Thank you so much, Alijan. And yes, I'm here to bring you all the up-to-the-minute details as those numbers come in. Now, Alijan just ran through the details of all the presidential candidates, and here they are once again, all 6 of them. Now, once the Supreme Election Council lifts that media ban, I'll be able to fill in all these bars with the latest numbers and percentages and tell you who's up, who's down, who's winning, who's losing, and most important this evening, the magic number is which one can get more than 50% of the vote to make it as president of Turkey. So look out for that magic number tonight, more than 50% of the vote. Right, I'll also be covering the parliamentary elections, and this is very interesting, something very historic here this evening. Now, for the first time, alliances have been formed, and here they are. First of all, we have the People's Alliance, and that's made up of the ruling AK Party, joined with the nationalist MHP. Over here, we have the Nations Alliance, made up of the CHP. That's the oldest party in Turkey and also the main opposition party, and they're allied there with the EU party, brand new, less than a year old. Also in that mix is the Saadet Party and the Democrat Party. So those are the 2 alliances. And over here, all by itself, and last but not least and very significant, is the pro-Kurdish HDP. Now, this is very interesting here, and the number to watch out for is 10%. Can the HDP cross that all-important threshold to get 10% of the votes? Because that will actually mean it can get into Parliament. It's the highest in the world, and if it doesn't, well, all its seats will be shared among the other alliances over here and any other independent candidates that there may be. Now let's talk a bit more about the Parliament, and there's something else that's brand new here. The Turkish parliament has ballooned. It's gone from 550 seats to 600 seats. And the magic number here is 301. Who can get 301 to win the parliament and get that majority? So that's the number to look out for here this evening. Now, where will all these votes be coming from? Turkey has 81 constituencies, but we'll be focusing on 4 cities. Istanbul, first of all, where I am, beautiful Istanbul, the biggest city and crucial to the vote. Next we have Ankara, the capital. Over on the coast is Izmir, and that is the stronghold of the main opposition, CHP. And southeast is Diyarbakir, and that is with the predominantly Kurdish HDP stronghold. So that's where the votes will be coming from. Now, this evening is a very special evening, and we want you to engage with these Turkish elections and with us, of course. And for that, we'll be talking all things social media with our very own Kamali Melbourne. Kamali.
All right, thank you very much, Maria, and thank you to all of you out there for watching us on whatever platform you're choosing, TV, Facebook, Periscope, or YouTube. We'll be following all your comments and keeping an eye on all the trends on social media throughout this momentous evening. You can tweet us, use Facebook, use Instagram, we'll have it all covered. But first, take a little look at some of the reasons that this election is quite so important for the future of Turkey. Now, as Alican mentioned, this is the first test of the presidential system. As you can see, they all have huge social followings. President Erdogan there with 13.1 million people following him on Twitter, but on Action had 2.67 million. If you scroll it on, we'll see the other guys who are in this race. Much lower following, Selahattin Demirtas with just 2 million people following him on Facebook. The others barely count, but those are numbers that will have people influence as they've got their supporters. So these kind of numbers are important with how people will eventually vote. Now, we also liked what we saw on social media of this animation in the past couple of weeks. It's from an animator based here in Turkey. It's called Game of Polls, and it's the Turkish presidential race set in a kind of Westeros type kingdom. It's pretty funny. Take a look. We'll show you some more of this later on.
It's okay with you.
You can come to my house tomorrow.
I didn't mean that. I'm planning to go there.
A new era has begun. Those who don't want our country to be powerful are trying to make us surrender. But we do not have any intentions to let that happen. I want to know who is with us in this upcoming fight, because winter is coming.
Now, you will have heard, of course, of the parliamentary groupings this time. They're going to be a really important element of this vote in the days that come ahead. The Nations Alliance and the People's Alliance, they're the ones to look out for. These groupings are going to bring together some unlikely allies and will bring you those unlikely alliances as they come about later in the evening. Now, each of the presidential candidates have also released their own songs. They're all great and special in their own unique way. Here's a taste of each.
Bölgede 81 ilde 80 milyon gülsün diye Muharremince hem de adalet için yeter sözde kararda senin kardeşin korkma bağır olmalı hızlı şark hızlı senin kalbinde bir sen hızlısın be güzelim el ele tutuşalım sevgiyle buluşalım saadet vakti geldi hiç korkma zordan zorbadan hiç korkma zordan zorbadan doğup erinecek bu gelen erinecek gelen.
And these vital elections are being held under a state of emergency, just as the French ones were recently. And this, of course, creates particular challenges for the country and the electorate, but there will be monitors in Turkey on the invitation of the government, and we'll be closely watching what they report. And finally, fake news. It has to be monitored closely. You will have noticed that elections throughout the world have been influenced by fake news. We'll be watching out for supporters and enemies of all the parties and candidates, calling out any lies and rumours that begin to spread. There are good resources out there, and we'll be checking and rechecking everything that we read online as the night goes on. You guys, make sure you do the same. And with that in mind, we want your involvement. We're going to have an expert panel of guests here in the studio and journalists all over the country. If you've got any questions for them, get to us on our social sites. hashtag #AskTRTWorld or @KamaliMelbourne. I'll get your questions in and put them to the people who will be able to answer them. And with that in mind, let's go back to Ali Jan, who's going to give us a rundown of all of our correspondents around the country.